You're watching the Urban Debate on Magicbricks Now, India's first property channel. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you. We're going to focus today on the real estate regulator. Now, we know the centre is yet to make the real estate regulatory bill a law, but Maharashtra, as a state, is miles ahead. The state government has already passed or gotten its regulatory bill ready. It was merely waiting for the Centres Act before making its own regulatory body ready. The question we're asking today is, will Maharashtra get the regulator soon? It's something that we all need as citizens and as home buyers. How long is it going to take? And what does it mean for you and me in the state of Maharashtra? We were expecting Shaina NC of the BJP to join us on this show and answer questions from the government's point of view, but she has not joined us yet. In the meantime, Uday Wavikar, Vice President of Consumer Courts Advocates Association, the Bar Association, joins me in the studio. Krishnaraj is an RTI activist. Mr. Wavikar, I'm going to come to you first. We're looking at draft details of what the Maharashtra government is planning in terms of a regulator. I want to understand from you how long you think this is going to take before we have a regulator in Maharashtra at least.
Maharashtra regulator has come in the Gazette, but the authority is not implemented and there is no authority formed. Looking at the regulator, it looks really nice because it is so happily worded. But if you go into the details of the regulator, which is of Maharashtra, there are a lot of contradicting things with the national regulator. Okay. Number one contradiction is that Maharashtra says any builder comes, applies, you get a window within 1 week to sell and permission to sell. Lot of fly-by-night operators can sell their dreams, because how are you going to verify the title of the land? How are you going to verify and take undertakings in place? How are you going to take
So the builder comes in, places an application, and then 1 week later he's allowed to sell.
Within a week he's allowed to sell.
Okay, but the contrary point of that would be that you don't want this to be another hurdle that takes 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, which is what the industry is complaining about.
But where is the credibility of a builder who's coming to you apart from that project registration? Same thing we had requested national when we had recommended. There has to be a licensing policy for the builders. They must be accredited. Their backgrounds, due diligence should be done, because you are playing with lives of the people. Even I can become a builder tomorrow if I get the finances. There is no technical know-how required for me. So therefore, the point is that accreditation is not here. Second is, you are not even going through the land deal, whether the land really belongs, whether it is a title, clear title, and the project, because there are a lot of, and where are the undertakings in place from the builder? Just mere application.
The other thing that's slightly worrying, and I know there are members of the industry that will be worried about this, it says that if there's no OC, if the OC has not been received yet, then it will technically come under the regulator. There are a lot of projects where it's complete, it's occupied, there isn't an OC right now. That seems to be, that seems to be something that will cause a fair amount of confusion, at least for the first 6 to 8 months of the regulator. Do you agree, Mr. Wavikar?
I really don't agree with the regulator, for the simple thing is, they have said if the builder doesn't get the OC, the flat purchaser should come forward and get the OC. Very easily said than done, because there are so many permissions required for an OC. You have to have pollution control NOC, you have to have airport NOCs, you have to have, and these are all technical. And apart from that, the financing under that, and the follow-up under that, and the license under that, do you think the flat purchaser should do it when builders do not get it? And if the builders have not paid the dues, I am talking of property charges, because until the OC comes, the statute says that it is the liability of the builder to pay, because the possession is not valid. And that liability also has to be borne by the flat purchasers. Even during the construction phase, if the builder has not paid the stamp duty, then the stamp duty would be paid by then the flat purchasers. So there are a lot of complications, whereas under Maharashtra Flat Ownership Act, it was a statutory obligation of the builder to get the OC, and he would go for 3 years imprisonment.
Mr. Wavikar, I think he's
I
accusing
don't
there of
agree
giving
at
up
all. My learned friend, I would not say he is ignorant of the law, but the fact is that consumer courts have given such beautiful judgments in short period of 3 years. Builders have gone directly to the jail. You are even the new regulator do not have. I can name 5 builders right away.
Please do.
Right away.
In how many years?
Yes,
Name 5 builders.
5 builders. Gala builder. Gariba builder. I am giving you names. D'Souza builder. That is how IC Colony famous.
Okay, how
And
many
then
years?
even arrest warrants against Ajmeras, and I'm naming it.
How many years? How many years?
Average
No,
of
no,
3
see,
years.
Krishnaraj, to be
1 minute.
honest,
1
to be-
minute.
to
Average
be
of 3
fair.
years, and through the consumer courts directly. Here, in a regulator, if you want to implement that, there are no
MOFA.
tits to bite. There is
MOFA was
no
passed in
direct.
1963.
So Uday Wavikar says that the regulator or that Maharashtra is considering is a toothless regulator that has no ability to
Absolutely.
actually
Completely
enforce
untrue.
everything. How so, Krishna?
Okay, the biggest teeth that the regulator has is this. Unless the builder comes up and makes a complete declaration of his, not only his title, his plans, his finances, whether he is subcontracting, the entire specifics of the design, unless he is completely open with them and hands over the whole thing to them, and that is uploaded on their website, okay? He does not get the go-ahead for even putting up his board on the
Are you
site
relying
and
on a
selling.
builder to honestly declare everything in the first go? Yeah.
I don't rely on the builder to be honest. That is exactly why this act is so precise that it says what he will have to declare if he wants to even put up a board on the site, or even if he wants to put up an advertisement in a railway station.
And the time
trying to
limit is
sell.
1 week.
And the time limit is 1 week to
Incorrect.
verify all
I'll
these
show you.
things.
You can sell on website.
Incorrect.
You are allowed. The moment you apply within a week, you are allowed to sell on a website.
Incorrect. Until you declare everything, you are not allowed to sell. Now,
And who's going to
currently-
who's
verify?
verifying
Currently,
what's
what's
being
happening?
declared?
Now, just
Who's
a second.
verifying
Let's,
what's
let's,
being
let's be
declared?
very clear on this. Currently, what's happening? The builder gets to make a building proposal without even having his plans in place. Okay,
Right.
and I see those building proposals every day. Okay, the builder gets to get, he gets okays from the corporation department without actually properly having done his homework and having entered into agreements. Even then, the corporation department will give him the green signal and they'll give him a 79
Or in
day
some
certificate.
cases, the corporation department doesn't give him any sort
No.
of green signal and the whole thing is delayed.
The whole yes, the whole thing is
MOFA
delayed
Schedule
for good
5.
reasons.
MOFA Schedule 5 is so crystal clear that if you are anything against Schedule 5, you
Can't
are
blame
illegal.
you for loving MOFA so much.
No,
here.
no, no, no. There is a
I can't
specific
blame
Schedule
you.
5. Look at the parking. Here you can sell the parking.
In
Government
the
has allowed
absence-
in the new regulator.
Okay, you know how MOFA is? It's like this. If someone comes and steals your chain, you can't go to the police. You'll straight away have to go to a criminal court. You'll have to go to a magistrate.
No,
How
why?
many people?
Consumer
And you'll have to
court-
hire a lawyer in order to do that.
No, but see, also-
Consumer
to
court
be fair-
activists can appear.
Wait
What
a
does
minute.
the new regulator also creates an appellate tribunal that we can go to before we have to go to consumer court or we have to go to criminal court.
Which is
So-
fantastic. Which is
Fortunately,
fantastic
no.
because-
Fortunately, Faye,
Yes.
The consumer court is an exception, and you can simultaneously go to consumer courts, and that has been allowed. There is no
You know,
bar.
Uday Wavikar,
is no bar.
the central bill that was being considered by the central government actually barred
Civil courts, but allowed the consumer courts.
Do you foresee the Maharashtra state bill to also put in a similar clause?
Yes,
at some
it
point?
is. It
It
is.
does not matter, Faye.
It
Let
is.
us understand this. Let's get this in perspective. You need to go to civil court if it's a civil dispute between you and the builder. And anything and everything is a civil dispute unless you can take it to the police. Okay? Unless IPC sections
My
apply.
learned friend is
Whereas,
forgetting consumer
Allow
courts.
me, please. Allow me. The myth that is perpetrated is that consumer court is a consumer-friendly place.
Is it not?
No, not so. So not so. There are stories of heartache that would make you cry tears.
Is it more consumer friendly than High
It is
Court?
not. Oh, it may be more consumer. No, it is not even more consumer friendly than High Court. Let me put it this way, Faye.
Okay.
If you have a competent authority
Okay.
and he is properly empowered as he is by the Act, okay, and he is, and I'm willing to read you details from the Act. I have it right here. What will happen is the common man can go and plead his case before the competent authority.
What
The
proof
ordinary
that it will
common
be
man
any
without
different
a lawyer.
from,
Thank
what
you,
proof
without
that
a
it will be
lawyer.
any different from current consumer court? Why would it be any different? Uday Wavikar.
Faye, in the consumer court, it's a court properly, and you get an order which is implemented, even an interim order. If it is not followed by a builder, they have gone to the jail. And I can again give instances. So therefore, there is a tooth to bite, whereas in a regulator there is no jail at all. You have to implement again. You have to go to the same criminal courts, and we know how many years it takes there.
The regulator
apart from
can
that,
bar
1
him
minute,
from
1
putting
minute,
his shop
1
putting on
minute.
sale.
What sale?
What
Only
can-
one.
okay, all right, all right,
1
all right.
minute. Let
He
me
can't
complete
sell.
my point,
Okay,
please.
Uday Wavikar, complete your
See,
point.
my
Uday
point
Wavikar.
is that there are no tooth to bite. Secondly, you are saying that the project will be stopped. The builder will have hundreds of such projects and different companies. So that doesn't really stop. Thirdly, the most important point here is that if the order of the regulator is not complied, and second, my question to my learned friend is, there is a writ petition against the regulator's order. What happens to that? You go in a writ, builder easily goes in the writ, gets a stay, and then 25 years, nothing happens.
That is something which happens
all right,
in any case.
Krishna,
No,
one
it
second,
doesn't
one
happen
second.
in consumer court.
We have a viewer on the phone line. I'm told A.K. Khanna is on the phone line. He has a question or he has a point to add to this conversation. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is A.K. Khanna.
Yes.
I just wanted to know that this end users, when who was putting their hard-earned money for purchasing a flat,
Yes.
he is not sure whether which builder to go with, because not know whether he will be completing in time or whether the project will be completed or not. So in view of this one, there should be a rating agency like it is like other agencies for financial conditions of the country and all these
Correct.
things. So there should be a rating which can give that
There is.
these are the builders who are got standing based on the certain parameters.
I think
There is
completion.
actually this competent authority. Now that is what I would like to tell you, Mr. Khanna.
Yes.
Despite all opinions to the contrary, this authority, if it's not a rating agency, it will show you on the website what the builder says, what the nature of his title is, what the nature of his enterprise is, how many partners he has, whether he's a sleeping partner or a standing partner, whether he has subcontracted or whether he has fully contracted and given a turnkey contract, whether he is a frontman. Every detail has to be on a website before the builder can put it up for sale. Explicitly said so in this act.
Now,
Now the current position is this. If you go to a builder and say, listen,
That's
are you
technically
really
not
an
a
owner?
rating. That
He
is
says,
a self-declaration.
My learned friend is sidetracking the rating. When I say rating, a builder has to be accredited, he has to be registered licensed person, and like a stock exchange, he must be listed. In case he does not do anything properly or there are charges against him, then his registration must be cancelled and he cannot be a builder.
So what Uday Wavikar
Here
is
the
saying
project
is
will be cancelled at the most, worst come to us.
So what you're saying is, instead of registering every project, builders themselves or companies that build themselves need to be registered first and accredited and then allowed to build.
Correct, because it's a question of life and death of people. If a building like Mumra comes down and Lakshmi Chaya comes down, if the lives are lost, then who's responsible?
Mr. Khanna, on the phone, are you satisfied? Do you think that would be a better option?
But as per the regulator, I found that there are certain deficiencies which builders have pointed out, that the local agencies like BMC and other, if they delay the project, how they are responsible for it. So whether the local agencies are also involved in that one, the regulator, they are also time bound for the approval and everything there.
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, neither the regulator being discussed at the centre or at the state will regulate the local bodies issuing permissions at this point. It has been a point that was raised by industry across the board. Unfortunately, it's not something that the government has taken into consideration. Uday Wavikar, how badly will that hurt, construction and finally the end user? Because if the person handing over the permission is not being regulated, then there's really no point in attempting to speed up this process, is there?
Faye, I'm totally with you, because if the Pollution Control Board doesn't grant the permission, simple as that, or airport authority doesn't grant the permission, the builder does not get occupation certificate. And you cannot take possession without occupation certificates. Mumbai Municipal Corporation has heavily come down till Mahim areas and filed criminal cases on the people for eviction. Now what happens is, I have no roof. I purchase a flat. It is ready. Water supply can be there on a humanitarian ground. Municipality takes more money and gives it to you. But then the same municipal authority will give you a notice to evict and run criminal cases on you. Therefore, these regulatory bodies must come under the authority so that they could expedite the permissions to the builder and do not unnecessarily delay the projects. for various reasons which are known to all of us.
Because, let's consider this. If a regulator actually has a deadline on a developer on one hand, and on the other hand, you have a municipal body or a local body with the ability to delay and make sure the builder doesn't meet that deadline. You're creating a window there for the possibility of extortion, aren't you?
Municipal corporation is taking care of that, Faye.
How?
It has slashed the number of NOCs, and it's in today's papers. Okay, it is slashing the number of NOCs.
See, slashing the number of NOCs is one thing. Even if there's 40%, one NOC to still be gotten. Yeah.
Not only that, BMC is maybe slightly alarmingly stepping out of the picture where it comes to things like verifying the title of the builder over the land. Because I think what they are doing is, they are saying, okay, the regulator is going to handle it, therefore BMC is not going to handle it. So it is, until now it had the duty of verifying the title and then verifying the nature of the contract with the society.
Now, learned friend,
just a second.
Yeah,
Uday,
let him finish.
If you don't mind,
I'll
please,
come back.
if you
I'll
don't
come
mind,
back to
Okay,
you.
all right,
Because
Krishna, finish what you're saying. Krishna, finish what you're saying.
Until now, BMC at least took partial interest, although yes, it kept saying, oh, we are only the planning authority and we don't want to look at these nitty-gritties. Even then, they could be drawn into the nitty-gritties because they are necessary by law.
Okay.
Now, what's currently happening is, BMC is saying, okay, authority says, regulatory authority says it is going to handle it, therefore we are going to step out of it and we are only going to look at the technical parts of the whole thing. So,
Uday,
there is a plan.
My simple question to my learned friend is, why Kempakola happened? BMC allowed only partial OC. You are allowing part OCs, and then you are saying now we will demolish. Over the years, no, I am not sidetracking. I am telling you today, apart from that fact, let me finish now.
Why Kempakola happened is very relevant because the whole point is to avoid a similar situation in the future.
And you will again have similar situations.
Say, would you
my
allow
learned
this?
friend should not talk as a municipal commissioner saying that I am going to allow and relax everything. No.
Say, shall we do one thing,
on the contrary, I am coming to a point where not only municipal corporation, there are 52 permissions that builder has to seek. I was talking of airport authority when you have multi-storied. I was talking of pollution control board, environmental control board, green laws, now and water harvest laws. So my learned friend is ignoring all that.
Faye, can we get out of argument mode and can we bring some facts on the table, please?
Please bring facts on the table.
Yes, please. I have here a copy of the Act, okay, as it has been published in the Gazette.
Regulator.
Okay? Yes, the Regulatory Act and Maharashtra Regulatory Act. The Central Regulatory Act is not relevant to us. The discrepancies with the Central Regulatory Act are not relevant to us in Maharashtra because we have a Maharashtra Act.
All right.
Okay, let's go with this. Now, what is Maharashtra Act meant to do? It is meant to supervise the entire gamut of activities that a builder takes up, okay, including construction and including promotion and including sale, okay, the entire gamut of activities. Now, it has focused on one thing, and I would love this to be heard by the people.
Go ahead. We're running out of time, so quickly tell us.
The government considers it expedient to remove information asymmetry by ensuring full disclosure by promoters and developers, and to ensure compliance of agreed terms and conditions while registering, monitoring and regulating housing projects by the Housing Regulatory Authority. Okay. Full disclosure and the details of full disclosure, I would just love to read it. Maybe we will run out of time. It is full of sections. I would be very happy to send anyone a copy.
So basically, all right. So we can send you a copy of that. It's available online. So what it says basically is that a builder needs to fully disclose all the details of the project in hand. Uday Wavikar, you're still smiling that you're not convinced. Are you not convinced?
The point is 2 points.
He loves more fun.
No. Fact. I'm talking of facts. You wanted facts. I'm giving you facts. A disclosure, which is a good point, that there is a transparency. People can check on that. But if the disclosure is not true and we know builders how they disclose, then what is the action that regulator can do on them?
Go to the regulator
and go and what? Do what? The point is, do you put them in the jail? Answer is no.
Government making a false disclosure to a government authority is a crime, my friend.
All right.
It is an IPC crime.
So here's the point.
So how
what
many
Krishna
years in
says is
criminal
that disclosure is a good thing. Uday Wavikar is saying that if
file
there's
a
nobody
420
verifying,
FIR.
verifying the disclosure that the builder is making on, or the developer is making on the website of the regulator, then there's no point in the entire
I got
process.
one more question.
Yes, Kanan, go ahead.
I just to ensure that the money is not diverted to some other project.
Exactly.
It is there, it is specific. They have to maintain building specific accounts. There's a section for that.
It's called an escrow account, and
There is a section for that. Building specific.
all right, go ahead. I want to hear what AK Khanna has to say. Go ahead. The fact that money should not be used for anything else.
Yeah, to ensure that one, I think the money has to be deposited in the bank by the purchaser, and it has to be released on the basis of the progress project has been making there.
All right.
Mr. Khanna,
yes.
I would tell you, if you look at the MOFA, because it's a settled act, it was a settled act, it says very clearly that the builder has to demand the money with the certification of architect, with the certification of supervisor, at what stage he has completed, and then only take the money. Otherwise, it was a criminal offense. Now here, a builder is maintaining an escrow account for you, and who's going to account for that and audit for that? And to what extent actions can be
No,
taken?
see, let me explain to AK Khanna, who's on the phone, and to the rest of our viewers what the escrow account is. It basically functions like this. So right now, when you pay a developer a certain amount of money, you don't know if that money is being used to pay salaries, to pay back debt, or to construct something else on another construction site as opposed to the home that you have bought. The escrow account will basically say that a portion, maybe 50 to 70% of the money that's being paid, needs to be put into an account and only used for the construction of the project that you have bought. That's what the regulator says. Uday Wavikar, you don't agree that that's going to be enough?
There are two
The
beautiful...
question is, the concept is really good, and I really appreciate the concept. I'm not saying no, because the information in the regulator which is asked for, which is available to the people, is also good. But here, what is the implementation? If
There are two beautiful
implementation
sections
the implementation is that if you don't do this, what teeth you have got to bite.
All right.
As I
What
said, I
happens-
don't know
what
where
happens
the
if-
facts are coming from, but just there are two
Okay, no,
points here.
Krishna, just answer that question since you're looking at the
Yes.
bill in front of us.
Yes.
Uday Wavikar's question is simply this. The escrow account is
The
a great
teeth.
idea. What happens if I violate that?
Two
rule?
teeth. Okay, I'll just show you two sharp teeth. One, there is going to be a retention number of flats. So a builder has let us say a 10% margin or a 20% margin. So 10% of the flats cannot be sold until and unless he gets occupation certificate, retention of flats. Okay? So he has to get occupation certificates. Currently today the problem is that large numbers of builders don't
I'll
get-
just correct
Okay,
my
hold on,
learned
hold on,
friend.
hold on, Uday.
In a minute I'll correct.
Hold on,
This was
please.
there.
Hold
This
on,
was
please.
there in all 10% government requisition flat was always there.
But
look at what happened.
but-
All right,
You
all
have to
right.
run to
So,
court,
so
my
we're
friend.
getting into specifics. I'm going to pause. I'm going to ask both of you all to pause for a second because Shaina, 1 second. I have with me Uday Wavikar. Uday Wavikar is Vice President at the Bar Association of Consumer Court. He has a suggestion for you. Uday, go ahead.
Another suggestion is that there are a lot of contradictions between the national
Sure.
regulator and Maharashtra regulator. I think we have to match it because one uniform regulator all over India would
Like-
definitely match, and those contradictions must be removed. Otherwise,
me an
they'll create a
example.
chaos.
Uday Wavikar, is there an example of that?
I'll
conflict
give a
between the two?
single
Yeah.
example,
request you
like
for
the
a example?
project clearance on the website to sell. The national regulator says minimum 1 month, unless there are clearances on the disclosures and checks on the disclosure, we will not allow you to sell in the market. Like your title of the land or the disclosures that you have given as regards to your financial statements. They said entire 1 month we'll verify and then only we'll permit you. Here Maharashtra government is saying, all right, you apply to us, within 1 month you go on the website and sell. There's a big risk because the verification is not done. So we have to have a lot of synergy between these two. Second is the conveyance. The conveyance, the national regulator is saying that it should be the appurtenant land and the surroundings, whereas the Maharashtra regulator says the building and the land below. If that happens, if your building falls down, you can't reconstruct. Within 6 months, if the conveyance is not given by the builder developer, then you are supposed to give only the conveyance in Maharashtra regulator of the building and the land below and not the land around. Your parking space, your other spaces will not be given to you. It will remain with the builder. So therefore, there are some corrections really required which were there in the MOFA but not adopted in this regulator for reasons because it's a legacy of the old government.
All right. Shaina?
Well, I think that The bottom line is that if they're talking about the same systemic dimensions to be given at the center and the state has a different agenda from the center, specifically not just to Maharashtra but even in other states. So I think that this is something that can only be answered. This suggestion will be communicated, but I don't think I am in a position to answer.
All right. I just want to get one thing very clear. You did say, of course, that given the fact that the Maharashtra government is trying very hard to bring in the regulator, and we understand that structurally there is a huge process that needs to be put into place. A regulator needs to be instituted. You have to pick a chairperson of that regulator. Would you say March in the new year? So 2016 March is when we might actually see the regulator come in? Can we take a deadline from you of some sort?
I hope so. You can't take a deadline from me because that depends on the way the assembly functions. And you do know that the opposition has a standard dimension, which is to disrupt anything that we propose to do. However, the Chief Minister is in a position to take a decision on this at the earliest. And I think that rather than meeting with deadlines, let me please say that the state is working on the path to progress, working on the path to ensure that facilitators of amenities, where I would not want to call them builders, but facilitators of amenities are as important as any other infrastructure project. And I hope that we will work closely to understand the problems they face, and they too to realize the predicament of the government to ensure housing at the fastest and the earliest.
But Shaina, I'll tell you this, on this channel at least we believe very strongly that a regulator is due and a regulator must be brought in as soon as possible. So we will create a platform on the channel between now and the next assembly session where we bring in opposition of, the opposition parties. We bring in representatives onto the channel to start a conversation. Is this a conversation that you'll be part of?
Absolutely. We don't shy away from any dialogue. And we do believe, please do believe that our Chief Minister is a man who has the courage of conviction to deliver. He doesn't shy away from accepting the truth or from introspecting or for even announcing, as we've done in the DP. How many chief ministers would have done what we did, where we said, no, there are systemic flaws and it must be redrafted. So I think that you need to give it to Devendra Fadnavis. He's a man who we need to trust his wisdom and his leadership both. And I hope that in the days to come, we will have less complaints and more people accepting of the fact that we want to move ahead at a fast speed.
All right, on this channel, I'll accept these things as a channel that tracks infrastructure, urban development and progress among the governments on the ground. We have seen the Maharashtra state government move faster than any other state to improve ease of doing business in construction permits, to actually change a lot of things, to push and put muscle and political conviction behind infrastructure development as well. We have not seen this kind of conviction come in from any other state in the country. Uday Wavikar, you had something to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I must appreciate Shaina's new terminology, that facilitators of the amenities. And my only request to Shaina is that parking was not to be sold by builder, it was an amenity. In the new regulator, the old legacy of that is given to us is that the parking can be sold anywhere and everywhere except in garden and roads. I think we have to watch that and see that the amenities must be allowed. Parking cannot be sold in the open spaces. There has to be a proper FSI utilized if you have to sell the parking. The Supreme Court said in Panchali very clearly that builder cannot sell parking. It's an amenity along with the house.
All right. So what we're going to do also, we're going to open up the phone lines. And since we're talking about a regulator in the state of Maharashtra, that's an inevitable thing that we are going to have a regulator. If you as a citizen have a suggestion to make, pick up the phone and call us. Radhakrishna is back on the phone line. Radhakrishna, tell us what your suggestion is.
Yeah, I am having a question to all the panelists.
Okay.
In our society, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Listening.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
In our society, the managing committee is, a majority of them are fraud members.
Okay.
And the builder is also has changed the builder without the permission of deputy registrar. And so the new builder is not at all our developer, since he is not appointed by the deputy registrar. And the agreement is now signed by the managing committee and the developer illegally. Then where this regulator is coming into?
This kind of thing will become very difficult to do in the realm of the regulator, and I'll explain exactly why.
One second, Krishna, one second. What we need to ask here is, Shaina, I think one of the questions here is bringing in the housing associations under the regulator as well, and the whole, the whole idea of redevelopment, which is something that we're so familiar with in Mumbai, and it's a huge part of housing in Mumbai. So redevelopment of old buildings and housing associations, bringing that under the purview of the new regulator, is that something that we might put forward as a suggestion to the government?
It's required. Because redevelopment is the now cities.
Why not? We'd be happy to, and I'd be happy to.
Go ahead, Shaina.
And I'd be happy to champion the cause as well. I mean, if there's anything, may I also suggest that if there are any written appeals that come through you, Faye, from your viewers, from people who are part of the housing fraternity, in terms of organizations as well, please do put it down in paper, and I make sure that it reaches the correct hands. Whether the decision is in the opinion of people on your show or in the interest of public at large as a majority opinion will have to be left to the bureaucrats and the minister concerned. But I think that putting forth a view is not a difficult scenario in the current picture. So I would request you, please do use me as a tool to reach out to make your voice heard.
All right, Shaina, we really appreciate that. And you heard it here on the channel. If you have a suggestion for the state government when it comes to regulation or to the regulator, I'm going to put on the screen right now. Our phone number is already there. We also have a website and we have a Facebook page. You can get in touch with us and leave us a message. And Shaina NC, they're giving us her word that message will be carried to the relevant people within the government who are working on that specific regulator. Uday Wavikar, you made a suggestion. Krishnaraj, you want to make one suggestion
Yes,
here?
I wanted to answer that question. May I?
Please, go ahead.
Currently, our situation is like this. There are various competent authorities. There is the Corporation Ministry, the Corporation Department. There is BMC. There is SRA, and these are like different tiles. And the problem is that the builders know the way to get between the tiles, and the thing goes between the cracks. It falls down between the cracks.
What are you saying exactly?
What I'm saying is there is no overall regulator. There is no umbrella overseer currently.
Okay.
Until the regulator. Now the regulator and the regulatory act is so specific because it is like an umbrella which goes around all these various this thing. So the answer to your question, Radhakrishnan, is this. Currently they are all taking advantage, whether it's your managing committee, whether it is your builder, whether it is fraud, bad officers of BMC, building proposal department, they are all taking advantage of the lack of.
Okay, so you're saying after the regulator comes in, that advantage will no longer exist.
The regulator comes in, and
the regulator must cover.
Will be gone.
The regulator must cover various authorities. That is what my learned friend is saying. Shaina ji, and it's a good suggestion. MAHA, SRA, and the other authorities, redevelopment especially, along with the housing societies, must be covered because that is tomorrow here.
All right, so this is an important suggestion that both government and non-government associations and organizations that are working in redevelopment should be covered by the regulator, especially in the state of Maharashtra, because of the level of redevelopment that happens in the state of in the city of Mumbai. That is a suggestion that we have, that we will pass forward, and Shaina has of course given her word that she will take it to the relevant people in the government. We're running out of time on this discussion, but I want to quickly get closing points from each of our panelists, and if there's someone who wants to get in touch with us on the phone, this is your last 2 minutes to do so. Uday Wavikar, most important, top of mind, do you think that the government and the regulator should consider, because we are now in that final stages of the last 2 months before we see the regulator, if there's something you want to put on the top of the table, on the top of the pile, what is that?
Two things. One is that conveyance of the property. Deemed conveyance has come, various conveyance schemes have come, yet conveyance is not happening. Unless the conveyance is in the name of society. In fact, I am feeling the day you purchase a flat, conveyance should be there and it's your right, and therefore the redevelopment would become easier. So conveyance of various authorities, whether it is collector land, whether it is MAHA land or other lands, should be there. Builders are saying giving it as lease. That is not correct. Societies must own the property because they have paid ownership.
All right. Krishna, is there something you'd like to put on the top of the pile?
Top of the mind, I would like to tell the common man Please go Google for Maharashtra Real Estate Regulatory Act 2014. You will get it. Please read it. Don't believe what the others say. Read for yourself what it says. It's an excellent act. You will be able to go to the office of the regulatory authority and to the appellate authority and make use of it. You will not need lawyers. You will be able to do without lawyers. I think it's an excellent act. Don't let others tell you otherwise. That's what I would
Shaina
like to say.
NC, I know that as citizens and as industry and as media, we have a lot of demands from the government, and that demand is a long list. But I also know that we also have a responsibility here as citizens. So if the government has an ask right now from its citizens of things that we should do as responsible citizens, I'd like you to use this forum to communicate with us.
Well, for starters, let me say, there are experts in the field, both in the government and in the real world, who have knowledge of how their industry works and who have knowledge of what the problems are both ways. The citizen needs to tell us what the problems are and what they think the solutions are. You have to have faith in the government and the bureaucrats and the various departments, whether it's SRA, whether it's BMC, whether it's MAHA, etc., to suggest that they will take a decision which is in the interest of all and not in the interest of few. I think this dialogue is necessary. Communication is a must. And if that communication reaches out to the concerned authorities, where the authorities are in a position to take a decision, we will work at a much faster speed. Our government, under the leadership of Devendra Fadnavis, is very, very clear. We're not here to harass people. We want to have the ease of doing business. People who are extorted or who have problems vis-a-vis corruption must highlight it, must bring it up with the ACB, must write about it, must not be feared or worried about what is going to be the repercussion of it. And I think that as a government, we can only assure you that we have Aple Sarkar, we have Lok Shahi Divas, and we have a proactive Chief Minister that is only here to solve problems and not be part of the problem.
Uday Wavikar, obviously, Consumer Court remains a strong arm.
Yes.
But like Shaina was just telling us, the state government now opening up routes of communication for citizens as well. Do we have now an alternative to the 4 or 5 years that we would normally spend in Consumer Court?
I think this is a better, this is a simultaneous alternative. I would not call it a better alternative because still the legal process, though my learned friend says he requires a priest for marriage. So similarly here, if somebody goes against the regulator in a writ petition, the consumer, would be put into the problem. Whereas under consumer courts, you can't go to the high courts. High courts or Supreme Courts, how many years the litigation normally goes, all of us know, and the cost of it. So whereas in the consumer court you have though there is an appellate court, the appellate courts are very clear. They are much faster than other litigation. I am not saying that consumer court takes 3-4 years. You don't have any faster litigation than that, and we really don't know how fast the regulator will.
What are your expectations from the appellate tribunal that will come with the regulator?
My expectation is, in fact, suggestion to Shaina is that let us keep it out of the high court purview. Let the regulator be independent like consumer courts, and there has to be their implementation body in the regulator itself. Like section 27 of consumer code, where a builder defaults, then you can go ahead a criminal charge in the consumer court itself. You don't have to go to criminal court directly. He can be sent to the jail for 3 years to the consumer court. Imprisonment, rigorous imprisonment. So unless such teeth are there with the regulator,
like ease of doing business, Shaina.
The question
sending
is,
the builder to prison for 3 years. Does it sound like the kind of thing your government wants to do?
I am talking of defaulting builder. I am not talking
Does your
of all the
government want to
builders.
scare builders with 3 years, please? Answer that question, please.
Where is the implementation?
So, Shaina, I think the question here is simply this. If we are going to include a 3-year imprisonment, clause in the appellate tribunal, give the appellate tribunal that ability, then on one hand, you'll actually give it the ability to enforce. On the other hand, Krishna saying perhaps that will go against what's commonly known as ease of doing business, and it might actually scare the industry a little bit. Which way do you think the government will actually see this point?